Hello. Today we're going to be working on solving multi-step inequalities. These are going to include fractions and decimals, so you may want to go and grab your graphing calculator now so that you can do this with ease. Okay? So the first step for solving this first equation is we're going to split this down the middle the same way we do with regular equations. I'm going to identify if I have distributive property or combined like terms first, which I do not on either side. 4h and 8 do not combine, and neither do 5h and -6. So I'm going to take a look at the right side. I see I have a 5h that I want to remove from the right, so I will subtract 5h from both sides. 4 minus 5 is -1h, or just -h. Plus 8 is greater than -6. So I'm going to continue this symbol until the very end, in which I will figure out if I have to divide or multiply by a negative. Now I have this plus 8 that I'm going to subtract from both sides, and -h is greater than -14. This is not the most simplified answer, considering this is -h and I'd like it to just say h. So I will divide both sides by -1 and have h is, see, I almost made a mistake. Instead of saying greater than, now it must say less than, because you have to flip the symbol. So anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, you must flip your inequality symbol. So if we take a look at the next example, I am going to split it down the middle like normal. Then I'm going to identify if I have distributive property or combined like terms. I do have distributive property on the right side, so I will multiply. 6 times x is 6x. 6 times -5 is -30. Copy the symbol and the rest of the left side, since I do not have combined like terms or distributive on the left. I also do not have any more distributive or combined like terms on the right. Once again, 6x and -30 do not combine. Now I'm going to subtract 6x from the right side, and I'm left with -5x plus 5 is less than or equal to -30. This is really a 1x, so 1 minus 6 is -5. You can always confirm with your calculator if you need to. Now I take a look at the left. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, since it is the constant on the left. So subtract 5. -5x is less than or equal to -35. In the calculator, if you wanted to do this, it would be -30 minus 5. There is no need to put an extra symbol there. It's simply a -30 minus 5. I know a lot of students like to write, oh, I'm subtracting, so I'm going to put a minus and a negative. You'll get two different responses that way. This simply says -30 minus 5. That's all that you put into the calculator, which we can confirm is -35. If you did something like I said before, -30 minus a -5 will wind up with -25, and that's not the answer that we're looking for in this case. So just be careful that you don't do something like that. Now I'm going to divide by -5, which again is going to result in us flipping the symbol because I divided by this guy right here. -35 divided by -5 is 7. Okay? So now we're getting into the more complicated questions where I have a fraction, but don't panic. You have a calculator to handle that fraction work for you. If you are someone that can do it by hand, awesome, that's great, keep going, and then just use the calculator to check your math after the fact. But if you're uncomfortable with fractions or you're scared you're going to get it wrong, just use the calculator and let it do it for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is split it down the middle. I notice that I do not have distributive property on the left or combined like terms. I do not have distributive on the right or combined like terms either. But I do have this 2x on the right side that I don't want there, so I'm going to subtract it from both sides. And here's where students begin to panic. This is 2/3 minus 2. Let the calculator do it. So you'll notice up here on the right side, I have alpha, y equals, enter. Those are the 3 buttons you're going to press to get a shortcut for the fraction. So I'm going to start by pressing alpha y equals enter. You do need an updated graphing calculator for this. If you have an older model, you can connect it to the computer and get the update, or connect it to another calculator to get the update, or just ask your teacher to do it for you. So alpha y equals enter. 2 over 3, come outside of the fraction by pressing the right side button, and I'm going to subtract 2. Making sure you do not put x in the calculator, ever. No, not in the home screen. You can put x when you're trying to graph or do something with a table, and that goes in y equals, but we're not in there. We're simply on the main screen doing basic math, so I do not put the x. 2/3 minus 2 gets me negative 4 over 3. So I still have this 2 right here. And now it's going to be minus 4 over 3. And don't forget, you were adding and subtracting x's. So I still have an x here. Now I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides because this is technically a little positive 2. So I will subtract 2 from both sides. I have negative 4 over 3x greater than or equal to 4. So what I like to teach my students is that you still have a number, even though it's a fraction, it's still a number, in front of the x. So you're going to divide by this number on both sides. So I wind up having a fraction in a fraction. That's okay. Calculator can handle it for you. I'm going to get started on the rest of my answer here. X, got to flip the symbol, is less than or equal to, and we'll figure out what our number is on the right. So I'm going to start with alpha y equals enter. The top of my fraction says 4. Then in the denominator, in the bottom of the fraction, I wind up having another fraction. So let the calculator do that as well. I wind up with negative 4 over 3. And if I press enter, negative 3. See, not so bad. And that's it for that question. Last but not least, again, this is decimals. No big deal if you cannot add or subtract decimals on your own. Let the calculator do it. You just have to know how to type them in. So I'm going to split this down the middle. I have a pesky negative 4y on the right, so I'm going to get rid of it by adding 4y. And I'm left with 2.4. I'm not so sure. Let's check the calculator here. So negative 0.4. Plus 4, again, no y's involved, no x's, no variable at all, just the numbers, and I get 3.6. So that's plus 3.6y. Copy the rest of the problem. Now I'm going to take away 2.4 from both sides. I'm going to be left with 3.6y, which is a positive, which means I can let go of this line here. But what's 1.8 minus 2.4? Let's confirm. 1.8 minus 2.4 is negative 0.6. Last but not least, I have a coefficient in front of y, so I'm going to divide by 3.6. Y is, let's say, negative 0.6 divided by 3.6 is, I don't really want to write a decimal like this. Instead, I would rather this be a fraction, and I can tell it's going to be a fraction because do you see how the 6's repeat over and over? So I can press math, see the arrow that points to a fraction, enter, enter, and it will convert my decimal into a fraction for us. So I wind up with negative 1 over 6. I wonder if I should flip the symbol here. If you think so, it's okay. But in the past 3 examples, the reason why we flipped it is because I divided by a negative in the bottom of my fraction. Here, I didn't. My answer is negative, and that's okay, but I did not divide by a negative here. That didn't happen. So I do not have to flip the symbol. It will stay as is in this example. I hope you enjoyed. Have a wonderful day. Bye.